Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kevin Corlew. I reside in Kansas City, Missouri, and I'm the father of 3 school-aged children. I'm here to testify in favor or in support of House Bill 349. Thanks for your service to the constituents, your constituents, and to the state of Missouri. Thanks for continuing to, and thanks for considering this important legislation. I'm not here to tell you how school choice produces higher ACT scores and better math and education. I've read studies, plenty of them, that demonstrate that when families have better educational opportunities, education outcomes do improve, both in public and private schools. But I will leave those matters to others. Instead, my purpose today is to try to convince you, based on my family's experience, that if you believe in religious liberty, freedom of thought, and equal educational opportunity, then you should support school choice. By which I mean equal state funding per pupil for the education of each child at a school of his or her parents' choice, whatever form such funding like that may take. I'm not here to attack public schools or public school teachers or administrators. My wife and I are both products of public schools. Our kids have attended public schools in several years past, and I once served at our local public school board, the North Kansas City School District, one of the largest school districts in the state of Missouri. Good people are in both systems, people who care about students. Public schools are one option, and they work well for many families. But these government schools, with a one-size-fits-all approach to K-12 education, should not have a monopoly over education funding. Like many families in Missouri, ours is a religious family. My wife and I are Christ followers, and we desire to raise our kids and educate them according to Christian values. As far as academic standards are concerned, the public schools in our Northland community, we're not failing, but the values in the classrooms have increasingly been trending away from, and in fact have become antithetical to the values we teach at home. When our kids started school, we expected that our kids would have great educational experiences and learn the academic subjects of math, science, reading, and the like. We did not expect that the public schools would teach worldview and religion. We were content to teach those subjects at home. We expected the public schools to at least be neutral in such issues and not to undermine our family values. However, if you were to monitor the schoolwork and reading material being promoted in the public schools, or you would attend public school board meetings as I have, you'd soon realize that the public schools, at least in our area, and I suspect in many areas, are no longer neutral between religion and non-religion. This is especially true when it comes to worldviews on such issues as human sexuality, human origins, discipline and respect for authority, and the promotion of secular ideology like critical theory and intersectionality. After quite a few years of being exposed to such government-sanctioned and taxpayer-funded indoctrination, I saw negative effects on my own kids, even to the point of seeking professional counseling for one of my kids experiencing suicidal thoughts. Yes, we tried to do all we could at home with our family discussions, scripture readings, prayers, but it's hard for religious parents to overcome the opposing and oppressive beliefs taught day after 8-hour day in the classroom. Thus, within the past year, we've pulled all 3 of our kids from public school. To some who wonder whether we've chosen private religious schools because we've wanted more religion, I've said no. Ironically, we wanted less. That's because a secular progressive worldview is being instituted in our public schools with religious fervor and intensity. And as an aside, to those that have mentioned accountability, standards, things like that, I've found within the last year, the private schools that we've chosen have excelled in academics, have been more rigorous, have kept our kids more accountable.
I hate to hurry up. We still got another bill to go through. If you could summarize it.
I'll wrap it up. And I want to mention, even to those in rural districts who may think, this isn't coming to our district. All you have to do is listen to the very first public school representative that was up here that said perhaps as hostile to the First Amendment statement as I've heard in this Capitol, when he said that those private schools need to alter their creeds and their beliefs in order to function in society, in order to take advantage of the educational benefits that every other student within the state says. Now let's just finish by focusing in on how difficult it is for religious families to educate their children here in contemporary secular society. Let's say that someone like me has 3 children, and the average per student funding or expenditure for K-12 education is $10,000 per year. $10,000 times 3 children equals $30,000 per year. Now multiply that by 13 years and you get $390,000. That is the public benefit available for families educating their kids in the public schools. But it's also the penalty imposed on someone like me in Missouri educating their kids in private religious schools. If I send my kids to public schools, I get at least $390,000 in scholarships. If I send them to private religious schools, however, I lose every penny. Yet I still pay a lifetime of taxes to pay for public schools. Selective funding of education guarantees religious inequality in 2 respects. Some religious families, the lucky ones who can afford to educate their children in private schools, suffer only an economic penalty by losing a large public benefit, the largest public benefit that our state gives when they choose to exit from the public schools. But a larger class of religious families suffer a far worse fate, the compulsory secularization of their children in strictly secular government schools. I ask that you'd consider this for a variety of reasons. There are so many reasons why people may choose different school environments, whether it be economics, academics, religious. But I encourage you to consider the issues of freedom of religion, thought, and equal educational opportunity for all. In a nation as religiously, morally, and philosophically diverse as ours, a one-size-fits-all secular education mandated by government bureaucrats is not consistent with religious liberty or freedom of thought or educational equality. Every child should be entitled to equal funding for a K-12 education at a school of his or her family's choosing. Thank you so much for your time and support of this legislation.
Well, thank